We stick together. That's how we win this.
Season 4 of Invincible is the best and the worst of everything that the show has to offer. Okay, so generally, I enjoyed this latest season. But still, there are a few things holding me back from saying that the season was great. Of course, we had the mishaps with the animation. We had a few interesting decisions taken with the pacing of the story across the season. We had the Hell episode that nobody can decide whether or not was filler.
I'm not bowing to Satan.
And of course, we had a few interesting decisions made with the characters.
Once, Mom and Paul took me to the seafood restaurant. It had this tank full of lobsters.
Okay.
There was one in there that was beautiful. It had like blue speckles all along its shell. It made me feel, I don't know, fizzy inside.
Fizzy? You mean... Oh.
I still ate it though.
But still, despite all of this, I do think that this latest season of Invincible was really pretty good. Not the best, mind you, and I'd definitely like to see better from Season 5, but still, it was pretty good. Okay, and to start with, I think we should jump straight to the meat of this whole season, with everything that takes place on Viltrum. And honestly, I gotta say that I really enjoyed seeing the Viltrumites get what was coming to them. And weirdly, I've seen a few people online saying that the Viltrumites didn't deserve this sort of destruction, and honestly, I don't agree. Seriously, the Viltrumites fucked around and eventually they found out. And it's all just because, of course, Megatron just couldn't let it go. And again, Optimus Prime had to oblige him. Okay, all jokes aside, I really enjoyed a lot of the Viltrumite stuff this season. I really found it quite interesting just how the Viltrumites have developed as a culture this season. I found it interesting seeing their starting point with Thaddeus and Argyle, and then found it a lot more interesting as I saw that story developed across the entire season. Back in either Season 2 or Season 3, I remember seeing the initial culling of the Viltrumites presented to us, and back then I thought it was just this sort of thing that was presented to us as if Viltrum had had some sort of civil war between these pro-Empire Viltrums and the peaceful Viltrums. And yeah, this season shows that this wasn't the case, with it instead being another side effect of Argyle's destruction and Frag's rise to power. Frag himself is someone I found really kind of interesting this whole season. He does a lot of quite nasty stuff, of course, but largely he seems to be just haunted by this ghost of Argyle he cannot let go of, and I found that quite interesting. Honestly, to me, Frag seems like a character who is more devoted to the Viltrumite Empire than he is his actual people, the Viltrumites themselves. And that, I think, is a really kind of good and interesting motivation for a character like himself. Also, yes, I really enjoyed seeing Frag put the smack down on a bunch of characters this season. And seriously, you can really see where the budget for the animation has gone to this season, with the majority of the budget really looking like it's been spent on a lot of the action and fight scenes.
I'm sorry, Mark. We need your help.
How do you feel about war?
When it comes to the other characters like Nolan, Mark, Adam Eve, Debbie, and Oliver, I've found their stories really quite interesting as well. But really, something that I've noticed with their stories this season just had to be the way that it seems as if this season is really building up their stories for the next season. So outside of just saying that I think they were really used quite well this season, I don't know what else to say about these characters, considering a lot of their story seems to be built up for next season. And honestly, I don't think there's a better example of this than what's happening with Nolan and Debbie. Rip Paul, by the way. So yeah, Nolan this season, after his encounter on Fraxa, has really learned something and really wants to be a different sort of person than the person he was initially, which is something I found really quite interesting and I'm really looking forward to seeing more of in Season 5. And something that definitely tells me we're going to see more of that in Season 5 is his relationship with Debbie and how this season has really built up where they're going next season. Okay, so honestly, I feel like I could make an entire video just talking about Nolan and Debbie alone. Of course, there's something really interesting going on with their stories here, because of course, Debbie is this sort of character who can believe that anyone will change, or has the capacity to change, and that I think works really well when placed in contrast with a character like Nolan. Nolan this season I think has seen, well, I think we've seen the biggest change in his character this season from his time on Fraxa. And really what I mean by that is that, of course, when he was on Fraxa and when he left Fraxa all those seasons ago, he really did learn something from the native Fraxans and Oliver's mother. Because of course the Fraxans had such short lives, they didn't believe that it was worth anything to just spend their lives waiting to assign blame to someone for something that happened previously. And that of course really struck a chord with Nolan and really allowed him to believe that maybe he could change. And really, we've seen a lot of that come through with his decisions this season. He's shown it with everything from his willingness to fight the Viltrumites, work with Thaddeus, and now, of course, try and reach out a hand to Debbie. And seeing him do all of this is really quite fascinating because, of course, with all the destruction that he wrought in the first season, he's a sort of character that I don't think a lot of people would be capable of doing this sort of thing that he's done this season. But still, his character is so grief-ridden and so devoted to changing and maybe getting his wife back that I found it quite believable. And honestly, I find this moment where Nolan just quietly admits that he actually misses his wife to be one of the most impactful moments of the entire series. And now, of course, at the end of this season, we do have Nolan and Debbie blasting off together to go and find Oliver, which I've heard has been said to be more of a sort of premiere for Season 5 than it is a finale of Season 4. But still, I didn't quite mind it. And honestly, given everything Nolan and Debbie have been through this season, I do think that it kind of works as a finale for Season 4. And of course, I think that the same goes for everything else in this episode, especially considering what Mark is going through. And Mark, well, he's really been going through it this season. Or rather, stuff has been going through him. But still, at least he has finally come out the other side of it better. Well, kind of. I mean, Conquest is finally dead, for real this time. And I mean, this poor kid just can't catch a break, can he? Because of course, now that Conquest is finally dead, Mark now has a new frag-shaped problem to deal with. And yes, I haven't been reading the comics. I've seen YouTube's short feed try and suggest me spoilers for the entire season and just the entire story of the show, but I've just been quietly pushing those aside. And thank God I did, because this season, with Mark and his story, it's been really quite interesting and really quite fascinating. Really, if I was going to talk through everything that Mark went through this season, this video would probably be half an hour long. So again, I might do that in a separate video later this year. And instead, what I'm going to do is just focus on the main points that this character has gone through this season and really talk about a lot of the things that I've enjoyed seeing him go through this season. And of course, the first thing that I think we all have to talk about is his change of drip. Because Mark this season has gone back to the yellow, and honestly, I really enjoyed it. But still, I think it's really quite good to see it back on Mark. The whole black and blue suit, it was fine, I guess, but really, it's not what I imagine when I picture Invincible. And something that I really enjoy about the yellow is just how it juxtaposes against everything that's happening in the scene. And of course, when we do get it back, I feel like we get it back at a point where it feels earned. What with Mark choosing to embrace being that sort of character again, that sort of hero again, and of course, everything he's had to do in order to get up to that point. And really that struggle of whether or not to kill or not, and just everything else that Mark has struggled up with until that point is something that I feel was a good enough struggle for this sort of character. But of course, Mark's struggles this season don't end there, and we really see this with the finale for Season 4, as this leads us into Season 5, and Mark's struggles really quite drastically change. Because of course now, Mark's biggest problem, the Viltrumites, aren't hiding somewhere else. No, they're sharing his world with him. And I cannot wait to see more of this story in Invincible Season 5, and I really want to see just how drastically Mark is going to try and cope with this whole situation. And lastly, for just one more point on the characters, I have to say that I've really enjoyed Adam Eve this season. She didn't get much time to really develop as a character this season, but what time she did get, I think was really quite fascinating. Honestly, Mark has been through a lot this season, but the same can be said for Adam Eve. Their time apart has really tested them as characters, and again it's led them into a new story that will be taking place in Season 5. And again, it's another one of those situations where I can't talk too much about this storyline because it's only really just getting started, and really something that I don't think we'll see developed until Season 5. And so really, I just want to say that whilst a lot of people have said that Adam Eve has had more sex than character development, I mean, that is kind of true, but also she is getting to a point now where she is having a lot more character development, and I'm really enjoying it. Something I'm not enjoying, however, and something I really want to see improved, has to be the animation. Okay, so yeah, a little while ago I made a short talking about the animation difference between something like Invincible Season 4 and Jujutsu Kaisen. And honestly, my whole point with that video wasn't to pick a winner. It was instead to show the sort of difficulties that come with making an animated series, especially with the way that some series go about achieving their animation and their look of their animation. Really, the whole point of that video was to just talk about, hey, what do you sacrifice when putting a budget together for an animated series? How much are you willing to sacrifice when it comes to animation and visuals? Do you give more money to voice actors and to everybody else and marketing? Or do you take more money from the voice actors and marketing and give it to the animators to make great looking stuff? Really just balancing this whole sort of like financial aspect of making a show is really quite difficult and just something that people struggle with wherever you are. And this season, I think we've seen the worst of that from Invincible. A lot of the animation has looked pretty static and clunky, especially in just more calmer moments. And of course, we've had the minor slip-ups with some of the action scenes. And I don't want to just say something out of hand because, of course, I don't know how this show balances its budget. But of course, I do know that this many A-list celebrities isn't cheap. And so really going into Season 5 of Invincible, I'd like to see a little bit of a change in the animation. Really, I'd like to see things get faster, a little more fluid, and a little more just natural looking. And of course, hey, if it takes longer than a year to do so, I wouldn't mind. Even if it takes maybe a year and a half, I'll be fine with it. Because at the end of the day, I want great art to come from this series, just as I do any other sort of animated series or film or story. And I truly believe that all the artists working on and putting this story together are capable of creating great art. But still, with all this said, I am still really enjoying Invincible, and I'm really looking forward to Invincible Season 5. So please, everybody, tell me what you thought of Invincible Season 4 in the comments section down below. Don't be afraid to tell me whether or not you're excited for Season 5, and thank you all for watching. Please don't forget to do all the usual YouTube stuff, like, subscribe and comment, and I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.